Good evening and welcome to another edition of the news tonight on DBS television. To begin, our headlines. In Douala, yet another demolition exercise is underway for the New Town Airport neighborhood of the city, where inhabitants are at risk of losing their age-long homes, schools, as well as other infrastructures. And in other African countries, a new currency called ECO is underway for member countries of ECOWAS, which is the West African Economic Bloc. However, this is not until 2027. These are the major stories for this newscast tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Stay with us to get the details in a moment. Good evening and welcome back to this edition of the newscast. Yet another edition and a fresh week with us here on DBS television. I am Cynthia Ngwemu. You heard it on the headlines. Inhabitants of Newtown Airport neighborhood in the Douala 2 municipality are again confronted with a promised demolition exercise which is scheduled to take place in the days ahead. Unconfirmed reports hold that inhabitants of this area are already asked to evacuate the area, which is the real estate property belonging to the international airport, that is the Douala International Airport. Mange Venasius is our man on this bit.
Because of illegal and anarchical construction on the airport land and in prelude to the AFCON 2021 competition, airport authorities have plunged inhabitants of this neighborhood into sleepless nights. A demolition exercise has been scheduled in the days ahead. The inhabitants consider the move too heavy for them to bear. A locality with more than 15,000 individuals, with schools, both public and private, churches and mosques, and health facilities, local rulers say the quarter dates back as far as 1984.
We have been here since 1984. It happened once that we were informed that the bazaar were giving out places since they wanted their places to be developed. So maybe I would say I came late because I just bought mine from somebody who was already here. But I'm talking of 1984. When we came, we tried to find out if it was safe. One white Obasigna told us that here is safe. But those who were already the other way, where the school in charge of fire brigade is built today, that it was not safe. Surely they came and destroyed it.
Some of these inhabitants admit that they bought the land from natives of the area with documents attesting to their ownership.
When we came to Douala, we were looking for a place where we can settle and carry on with our activities. When we came through this area to this area, we saw in between, there was an interaction, and we got in touch with one Mr. Peter who stays here. And he's the one who sold us a piece of land where we had to build the church, and also the other part of the land we were using for our businesses. And also there were also tenants there.
The issue of demolition, as they say, goes back to 1994. A first phase of the demolition exercise had been carried out, and the second is being envisaged. The exercise in itself is as confused as the people are. Following a document circulating in the neighborhood, there are no precise demarcations of the exercise. Quarter heads say authorities of Douala 2 subdivision simply said the whole quarter will be cleared. A statement which, if applied, could be dangerous to these people. All the same, leaders still call for calm, as only dialogue can help out as of now.
I told my population to be calm. Let us just be united and wait. We shall have a meeting that we may decide to go, as I already told you, we decide to go and see the air Rashid. I told them to be calm, that it is the government who accepted us because the government saw when we were building. It is since 1984. I said the government saw when we were building. They didn't demolish. The government has given us a school, a very nice school. They didn't refuse. I believe the government cannot behave that way.
According to a communique notifying those concerned, they are expected to take necessary actions to facilitate the exercise.
Still in line with housing, the 40th annual session or general meeting of the Pan-African housing company called Shelter Afrique has opened today in Yaoundé in a ceremony commemorated or chaired by Cameroon's Prime Minister and Head of Government, Chief Dr. Joseph Dion Goute. For the next 5 days, the stakeholders would be discussing the implementation of housing policies in Africa, but equally proposing solutions to the existing problems. Ate Bonaventure has details of this.
A recent study carried out by Shelter Afrique shows that overall shortage of housing in Africa is estimated to be 56 million housing units, a setback which requires concerted efforts to amend. The 5-day international conclave has brought together housing and finance ministers and representatives from the 44 member states of the Pan-African Housing Institution. The members shall be evaluating the effectiveness of the implementation of housing policies in Africa and its impact. The opening ceremony was chaired by the Prime Minister Joseph Dion Goute, personally representing the head of state.
This meeting is the materialization of the cordial ties and the perfect cooperation that exists between our country and our institution.
The meetings shall hold physically and online under the coordination of Cameroon's Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Celestine Kecha-Coutes, acting chairperson of Shelter Afrique.
I would like to take this opportunity to express my satisfaction at Cameroon's appointment as President of the Bureau of the General Assembly.
The event shall be marked by B2B encounters, exhibitions, and a conference of ministers on the role of development finance institutions in policy implementation in the built environment in Africa. The opening ceremony was also an occasion for the institution to offer cleaning materials to some localities.
Let's now listen to the Kenyan Minister of Housing and Urban Development, James Macharia, who also doubles as the outgoing President of the General Assembly. He emphasizes or highlights the importance as well as the peculiarities of this assembly. He spoke to our reporter, Ate Bonaventure. Listen.
This meeting of Shelter Afrique is extremely important because, you know, shelter is the second most important thing in terms of the lives of our people. The first is food security. After food security, it is shelter. And that's why we have this Pan-African body called Shelter Afrique, where the shareholders are the African governments, but also we have other institutional investors. And the plan is to make sure that we provide affordable housing to our people. That's why we work very closely with governments. We work very closely with national treasuries. We require leadership at that level across Africa. And today, Cameroon has provided an excellent example. The main event will be on Thursday, where we have the annual AGM. And in that AGM, I will be handing over to our sister, Minister Coutes Kecha, who will hold the chairmanship of the AGM Bureau for another 1 year.
Now let's talk music, as today, June the 21st, marks yet another edition of the International Music Day. As the day is commemorated, Cameroonians express diverse opinions regarding not only the quality, but equally the content of music made in Cameroon today. Our reporter Ekokobe Remy Carol went out to gather some opinions, and here is what she prepared for the news.
Enjoy comme s'il n'y a pas de lendemain. Profite comme si t'as touché ton salaire. Le plaisir revient, j'oublie les problèmes.
As the world commemorates this year's edition of the International Music Day, many music lovers hold the opinion that music has lost its value. As time goes by, new songs, dance moves and melodies are being produced, but a cross-section of these music lovers today still believe that other music contents carries more value. They think that artists nowadays mostly sing to make people dance to the beats and rarely pass on any message.
Well, what we hear about music today, there is no information. It's just dancing and then just jumping up and down.
It comes to show how moral decadence has taken place, has taken hold of whatever we're doing today. Because if you listen to music, they're mostly youths. What do they sing? They sing just those things that they are not supposed to sing. Does it take us to show us how moral decadence has taken hold of society today? Because it's not only about love, but even they portray even those things that they are not supposed to bring to light.
Many say old-time music is more preferable to that of today for various reasons.
Talking about the music of yesterday and what we have today is different, because yesterday we had what people will tell you that music went with lots of messages concerning our culture, our lifestyle, our way of doing things. At least the music really encouraged us. It really brought you to the realities of what is happening around you.
Yesterday is much more better than that of today. So if I told all the musicians, Cameroonian musicians today, can at least when playing the music, they should pass information through that.
However, others do believe that despite the difficulties faced by artists in Cameroon, some still brave the odds in order to produce good and quality music, passing educative messages to the listeners.
Big dreams, big dreams. What you have is you have.
On to other stories. The new paramount chief of the Baya people, that is in the Kade division of the East region of Cameroon, has been installed into his functions over the weekend. It was in a colorful ceremony in which local authorities as well as the population massively answered present. The Vanessa Shuyong reports that the newly installed is called upon to work in synergy with the administration in order to ensure peace and unity amongst the people. Her report.
Local administrative authorities, local chiefs with a massive dynamic population of Kete and Uli in the Kade division gathered this Saturday to witness the installation ceremony of their new chief, Mbele Masike Gilbert. He was officially recognized and enthroned 3 months after his father journeyed to the land of no return. All this took place when some traditional rulers had to come together to deliberate on who among his children will ascend the throne. By so doing, according to reports, endorsed the will of late paramount chief Mbele Banga, who during his lifetime had already made the choice of his successor. The challenges and expectations of the population are high. They wish to see him work for the development of the population, maintain social cohesion and living together, work hand in glove with state institutions for peace, calm and stability to reign. On the other hand, they equally want to see him address the lack of birth certificates and see into it that unrecognized chiefs are regularized, a demand which he acknowledged is much work to do.
Le chantier est énorme. Si les chefs ont porté les dépôts sur moi, ça veut dire que j'ai du travail à faire. Je dois déjà œuvrer pour que la notabilité Baya en général et celle des arrondissements de Ouli et de Kété soient davantage respectées.
The occasion was also a milestone in the long effort of the Baya to raise their voice, promote their tradition and safeguard their cultural heritage. To the Bayas, it is a historic day and a new era for the people.
Let's end this newscast in stories out of Cameroon. Like you heard on our headline, ECOWAS, or the West African Regional Bloc, has adopted a new plan to implement the eco currency in its member countries from 2027. This comes after a meeting held in Accra, Ghana on Saturday. And out of there, on to Ethiopia, polling stations opened this morning as the people go to the polls to elect or vote a new government. It is believed that Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's party is the favorite in these elections. Let's hear more of these stories in the following report prepared for us by Rogea Tububa.
A group of 15 West African countries have adopted a new roadmap to launch a single currency in 2027 after its previous plans were derailed by the coronavirus pandemic. In a summit in Ghana on Saturday, the new roadmap was agreed by heads of state of the Economic Community of West African States. These countries hope a single currency will help to boost trade and economic growth. According to the president of the ECOWAS Commission, the heads of state had decided to suspend the implementation of the Convergence Pact in 2020-2021. The currency known as ECO aims to replace the CFA franc used in former French colonies. Proponents of the ECO say it will help countries break dependence and exploitation by Paris. Nigeria, the largest economy in West Africa, currently operates a managed float for its currency, while 8 others, including Ivory Coast, use the franc-backed CFA pegged to the euro. Over in Ethiopia, polling stations were opened early this Monday morning as Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's ruling Prosperity Party is widely expected to cement its hold on power. Close to 40 million people registered to take part in the national and regional parliamentary elections, but due to insecurity and logistical issues, 1/5 of the country's constituency were unable to cast their vote. The elections, which were delayed twice since last year, are now contested by members of the opposition, with some accusing Ethiopia's ruling party of harassment, manipulation, and threats of violence. Other prominent opposition parties decided to boycott the elections. Security forces were deployed in the capital Addis Ababa and in the country to ensure a peaceful election. A second batch of voting is to take place on September 6th to accommodate many of the districts not taking part on Monday's vote.
That was it for tonight's edition of the news, the first for this week on DBS Television with me, Cynthia Ngwemo. Thanks very much for watching, and we do hope to see you when we return tomorrow for another edition. Until then, have a great night with us.